What's up, Steelers fans? Welcome back to Around the Burgh. I'm your host, Mitchell Wolf, here with our Week 4 preview of the Pittsburgh Steelers matchup with the Green Bay Packers. I'll introduce my co-host, Shane Cubis. Shane, how you doing tonight?
A lot better than I was on Sunday, so hoping for better things, but the matchup definitely is not making me feel super good, so we'll see how it goes.
So I just watched the most recent episode of Ted Lasso, and they're at
Ah,
a funeral, and at one point, somebody asked Ted, he's like, how you doing? He's like, they asked Ted, is everything all right? He's like, oh no, everything's terrible, but I'm doing okay. That's kind of how I feel.
I mean, I feel like that's pretty much how every Steelers fan is feeling right now, just about pretty much everything. So
Yeah, everything's terrible, but I'm managing.
yeah,
So we kind of broke down everything last time, more of just a vent session, but I think we're going to talk for our first segment tonight. We're going to talk mostly just about Ben Roethlisberger in the quarterback position.
yeah.
So in our rundown, I basically wrote out my thesis on what the Steelers can do moving forward, and the problem is, in my mind, is that the Steelers are pretty much stuck
Mm-hmm.
in that they can't really bench Ben because we know what Mason is. We have a decent idea what Dwayne Haskins is. And the offensive line is so bad that they probably are not going to do much better than Ben will. But Ben is obviously very bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it's really hard because, and I talked about in the pre-show, like I did an article, and I do one every week about how Ben played for fan-sided site, and it's so hard to judge him right now normally, especially the first two games, because there was clear issues with the offensive line and the run game wasn't getting going and play calling was a little suspect at times. And then this game just kind of, especially missing guys on offense with Deontay Johnson missing and not getting much out of anyone, it was so clear that he's just old, right?
Yeah.
Like it is what it is. Like he's 39 years old. He's not going to age gracefully like Tom Brady or guys like that. That's not the kind of player he is. He's never been that guy that's just sit there, make your reads, make your throws, and don't move around, do anything. And because the offensive line can't even allow him to do that much, like he can't even do what he did to make those offenses so great in the mid 2010s with us. Sit there, get the ball to his playmakers. It just isn't working like that anymore.
Yeah, I think there's so many factors that go into this because, if you think about the Ben it's funny because, like, obviously Steelers play the Packers this week, so people are kind of posting the highlights from their past matchups, and one of them was in 2009,
Yeah.
which was a really good game. And I saw like Ben's highlights from that game, and he's obviously at his burliest, and he's kind of moving around in the pocket, doing his kind of old Ben thing or previous Ben thing, I guess, and running around the pocket, and throwing deep shots like Mike Wallace and stuff. And it was funny because there was one play where he did like a perfect play action from under center and hit Heath Miller down the seam. Like, wow, we could do that now.
That'd be great. Yeah,
that'd be fantastic. But so we can't really do that, obviously, because he doesn't have the speed or agility or whatever to get outside of the pocket, and make the throws because his arm is also deteriorating clearly.
It is compared to what he's shown in the past. Yeah. So.
Right. And then I think the other issue is that he doesn't really have the skills to consistently execute that quick game because I don't think he just has the trust in his receivers yet. And I think the other thing is that because his arm is deteriorating, his accuracy is also deteriorating. And it's not like Ben was ever like the most pinpoint accuracy guy, but now it's even worse. Like the throw over the middle to Juju where Juju got his ribs hurt, that was a pretty inaccurate ball. And so like there's just nothing they can really do, or Ben can even do to make this better.
And that's kind of the concern, right? It's like for me, I don't see a clear avenue for this to improve. Because if you take Ben out, right, obviously he, as much as he is still probably the best bet just because he's been the one repping this offense, he's been the one working with the ones and everything. Rudolph, not as much, but still, he's not 39, so he's more mobile, and Haskins more so. They have more mobility, but I just don't know if that matters much in the grand scheme of things because unless they're going to, have a moving pocket, they're going to have a lot of rollouts, a lot of sprint outs, a lot of stuff to get those guys on the move and get them away from the pocket. That's not what they're good at still. Like, so you'd still be, no matter what, you're either taking a guy out that's a veteran that at least knows the offense and everything, or you have to create some new wrinkles with some younger guys that might still not work for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the guy that honestly I would have the most confidence in running the offense, air quotes for those listening, is probably Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, realistically, if he was
from
healthy,
an athleticism standpoint, from a mental processing standpoint, like I would trust him. The problem is like he just doesn't have the arm talent, or I mean, probably not a lot of not. He's probably his post snap recognition is probably closer to Ben's. I
Yeah,
feel like that's
compared to
kind
the
of an
other
issue
two.
for him.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and he's like not even active at all. I think he's still on IR
Yeah, I
even.
think he's
So,
hurt still.
so
Yeah.
that's not even an option. So, one idea that we kicked around here was that, like, is there a possibility that the Steelers try to find a different quarterback going into the trade deadline, which is at the end of October? So we have a few names in our rundown here. So the first name that I threw out, which I think is interesting, is Drew Lock, who's the current backup quarterback for the Denver Broncos. And Lock is interesting because he's, a young guy. He has a big arm. He has kind of the similar issues that like a Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins has with, some issues with like mental processing post and pre snap. But, I think he's shown the ability that like he can win games in this league and not be an absolute disaster.
Yeah, and like of the guys that I think would be available for the right price, I think he has the most talent as
Mhm.
far as arm talent goes and the mobility aspect and everything. For me though, like giving up any sort of substantial assets, even if it's like a fourth or fifth round pick for someone like him,
Mhm.
which you'd probably take more because the Broncos still probably value him as a backup and a potential guy. It it just to me, I don't think it's worth it because if you're gonna bring in Locke, like how much of a ceiling, how much more of this, does he raise the ceiling for this team with its current state? I don't
Yeah.
think it's that much, realistically.
Yeah, definitely. I don't really know what to do with. I still like Drew Lock a decent bit, in terms of. I feel like a lot of people really don't like him, but again, he has the same issues that the other guys already on the team have in that he's not going to play well against behind a terrible offensive line.
Yeah.
So the other names, and I would call these like the veteran benchmark guys,
Right.
which would be Jimmy Garoppolo, Andy Dalton, and then maybe to a lesser extent Nick Foles. And again, same problems with lack of offensive line, but like at least they get rid of the ball quickly and can like move around a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, part of me thinks it'd be hilarious for Nick Foles to play for the Steelers just because like Nick Foles is the ultimate meme quarterback at this point.
Yes. Yeah.
And like I don't know how I feel about Andy Dalton playing for the Steelers because like I don't have anything against Andy Dalton because he never really did
Hmm.
anything to hurt the Steelers really,
Yeah.
unfortunately for him. But one of those two, like I guess if you're trying to bring in somebody who would be able to quickly come in and actually like learn the offense and run it, that would be a good thing. But again, and this is a problem. Like obviously there isn't a quarterback out there we can just go grab and say, hey, listen, you're going to do great. Like you're going to be so much better than than what we
Yeah.
have. If that was the case, I mean, no one would have any quarterbacks that they would be willing to part with because if they're all good enough to do that, then why would you bother? So I just don't think it raises the ceiling enough. And like I think a lot of fans obviously they're afraid of what could happen here where we're like 1-6 or 1-5.
Hmm.
And like that's just not what Pittsburgh does, right? Like and we're
Right.
spoiled from that perspective. But do they help us enough where we're gonna even avoid that? And even if we do, like, are we more happy being like 3-4? Like
Yeah. Well,
it's
so I think part of this is for me at least is thinking like because the Steelers bye week is week 7, I think
mhm,
that's the week before the trade deadline. So
right, yeah.
in my mind, I'm thinking that they make this transaction around the bye,
Mhm.
basically saying we're benching Ben. He's like retiring effective immediately
Right,
or
he's
something.
basically like he's gonna go sit on the bench and look really weird
Yeah, which
and
which also I can't see him doing. Like
no,
he's
I
just
don't
that's
think
just
so.
not in his personality.
No.
So, and then the other I think the one I thought, and again, this is kind of a meme quarterback, but like Mitch Trubisky maybe.
Mitch, my boy. I my favorite name for him. I'm not going to say on the pod, but
There we go.
we're we're gonna with Mitch. Like, I'm happy that he's like seems to be doing well with the Bills because like the Bears, as much as I don't think Mitch is a good quarterback, really, and I don't think he will be. Like he also didn't have any sort of shot
Yeah,
with the,
yeah.
with the
I
Bears.
think he could still be good because we've seen how Matt Nagy can ruin
Oh
quarterbacks.
yeah, we talked about that in the live show on Tuesday. That was he. I think Justin Fields has an argument to be able to sue his coach right now. Like I think
Yeah,
he could justify like damages to himself,
yeah,
like image, body, like
yeah, yeah,
everything. So,
yeah. I don't. I feel like I think you're right that Trubisky's like happy in Buffalo. Like he wouldn't really want to be traded, especially to again tough
yeah,
situation where the team is not very good. And I also have
yeah.
Nick Mullins down just because again he can get
It's
rid of the ball quickly, but that's
yeah. I
about it.
mean, I still remember him lighting up the Raiders in his
Yeah,
debut back
yeah.
in
Like I don't know,
whatever
maybe
year.
he could be fun. I don't know. Like he kind of gives me Duck Hodges vibes, but like
Yeah, I
a
mean
little better.
we could go get Duck if they're willing to. If
Yeah,
he's
the
willing to
Auto
leave
Red
his
Blacks might be willing to part with
yeah,
him.
like, hey, we'll give you a bag of peanuts and we'll pay his contract.
Right. So,
So
this exercise is kind of just like fun to think about, but it's pretty futile, obviously. But I think this is an illustration of the quandary that the Steelers are in general, in that obviously, like you said, like the Steelers have this tradition of winning, this tradition of excellence, where a non-playoff season is very rare, and
Yeah.
it's a cause for okay, we need to reevaluate what we're doing. But such a bad season brings about the ability to draft a good quarterback, because and for a team that has that tradition of excellence, they don't pick that highly that often.
Mm-hmm.
So part of me is like, okay, like, but the problem is, like, you can say, oh, like they'll tank this year, but like the Steelers just don't tank.
That's the issue here.
Like,
Is like,
like they had the opportunity to tank 2 years ago when
They're
Ben's
like, nope.
arm got injured. They were like, nope, we're trading our first round pick for a safety, which worked out.
It
I'll
did,
give them that.
But they don't do it. So
no, and even if they wanted to, this year's quarterbacks class is bad, I guess.
I mean, it's one of those things where, like, when you're comparing the last couple quarterback classes to this one, it just feels really lackluster.
Yeah.
And, odds are at least a couple guys are going to come out of this class. They're going to be at least decent starters, most likely. That's just kind of how it works.
Maybe.
But, like
again, I think we probably said the same thing about 2013 when it was EJ Manuel, Matt Barkley,
Geno Smith, I think, too.
I think Geno Smith was in that class. Yep. Yeah. Those guys. And
I mean... that was a bad. I mean,
yeah,
there's at least some guys in here that I think have legitimate talent. It's just whether or not it will translate or not, where they could figure it out. And that's the problem, is like, if we truly tank, which I don't see happening, I think that between the defense getting healthy eventually and maybe the offense just like having a couple games where they're like, we throw Deontay Johnson 32 times, it's like there's going to be enough wins in there, probably, especially with the way some teams are playing right now, where we're probably not going to be like a top 5 team. I mean, maybe top 10-ish probably is where we're trending right now.
In the top, maybe top 15, something like that.
Right, like that's where we're trending. But is that? I mean, if we can get a quarterback in that range, and there isn't one that, if they fall, or if there just isn't any that are consensus like top 5 picks, then the value might be there, honestly. But if we have a top 10 5 pick, we're going to be better off using it on another premium position like offensive tackle or something along those lines. So it's tough to
that kind of brings me to my next point, is that I think this is probably the strategy they're going to go with, and probably the strategy that's best, is that this year ends, Ben is going to retire. I think that's a given.
Yeah, we assume so.
And unless he comes back and they really want to tank, or like, Ben, go out there, do whatever you want.
Ben, literally just run no huddle every snap, and just run your legs in the ground. See how long
until your arm literally falls off and your legs literally give out. Just keep going, and we'll figure it out once that happens.
That kind of happened last week. Once, right? I remember seeing that. You remember that video that's been going around of Ben throwing like a quick pass and like falling on the ground?
Yes. Yeah, and then I think somebody posted the video of like this play from like 1933 where the quarterback gets the snap and just he tries to chest pass, it gets knocked down, and they said Ben Roethlisberger, which is accurate. So I think the plan is that Ben retires at the end of this year. Steelers find a bridge quarterback, and I don't really know what that means. If it's Mason for a year, if it's Haskins, if it's one of these guys we mentioned, or if they draft somebody, but probably not, because they're probably going to draft an offensive lineman high.
I would assume so, right?
Go with that bridge quarterback next year. Kind of stink. Defense plays well, but the offense can't get anything going. Midland record, maybe bad. Then go for somebody in 2023. And, 2023 is still a little murky right now, but I think we expect Phil Jerkovich to be in that class, my boy.
Yeah,
DJ Uiagalelei to be in that class.
Who is questionable.
I think for him, that's more of Clemson's offense.
Oh, yeah. It's still like, again, he's one of those guys that I'm really curious to see what they do differently, either going forward and then next year, because that's going to determine whether he's one of those guys that ends up having to stay 4 years just to get into a rhythm, or if he can have that chance to actually make the jump early. Like a lot of people thought. They need to get They need to get Tony Elliott out of there. That's terrible. That offense is rough.
Yeah. And maybe next year their offensive line will be better because they'll have some more experience, and
maybe
they'll figure out how to develop offensive line, which they haven't done in 10 years. So, but anyways, so draft a guy in 2023, because that class is already looking better than this class, just because like Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler's probably going back to school at this point, unless he really turns it around.
I wouldn't be surprised. Now, the thing with him is, I wonder if he continues to go out there and just kind of do his best with what he's being given, which he's had some rough moments for sure, but like he still shows all the things that you want to see with a quarterback, the arm talent, all that good stuff. His accuracy isn't as good as it was last year so far to me, but it's still there. Like he isn't just completely inaccurate. It's more decision making.
Yeah, it's decision making and processing for sure.
Which I mean, teams will take chances on guys like that. We've seen that. So he might, if he's getting good reports saying like, "Hey, this quarterback class is bad," maybe he's willing to take the chance on being the first guy in this class, opposed to fighting for next year's class. So.
I mean, I think next year's better because like I said, like DJ's still a bit of a question mark. Dracovic will probably be a later round guy because he'll only have one full real year of playing.
True.
I mean, there's a chance like JT Daniels goes back to school. There's a chance Grayson McCall goes back to school. There's a chance Keaton Slovis transfers probably or goes.
Yeah, I think he might. Like he'll do what every USC quarterback does: gets injured, transfer.
Exactly. Yeah. So like, I feel like he might go. But anyways, so I think 2023 is the year the Steelers will probably draft their next franchise quarterback.
They're going to try to at least. And as far as like the bridge quarterback thing, there is one quarterback that I kind of wish was available right now. That I still think it would not be worth it like this season, just because I don't see any quarterback that would realistically be available being able to raise the ceiling high enough to be worth it. But especially when you factor in what we're trying to do with the offense so far with Canada and also the mobility aspect to try to avoid pressure. I wrote about actually as a possible bridge guy next year, Mariota, honestly.
Yeah,
he would have been an interesting guy because he at least we can do a lot of the things that can help an offensive line stay intact, the rollouts, getting him on the move. And he showed a lot of improvement from a confidence standpoint in his short play last year.
Yeah, he just can't stay healthy now.
That's the problem with him too. Like because what I saw from him in the short stint he played last year, like you could tell he was more confident.
Yeah, that game was incredible against the Chargers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He was awesome that game.
Exactly. And like you could tell like he was just feeling it and he felt comfortable with the way Gruden was calling plays. And so he looked like a completely different guy, which made me think that, hey, if someone's trying to do that bridge thing, kind of like what a lot of teams are doing now, where they get that bridge quarterback and they try to develop somebody in the meantime, he's definitely a target for a lot of teams probably.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. I'd like that because I like Mariota a lot. My stock couldn't be higher on Marcus Mariota. And with that, we go into our sponsor, which is Symbol, which is the stock market for sports where you can buy and sell virtual shares of your favorite teams using real money. Every time your team wins, you earn a win payout. If your team loses, you lose nothing. Symbol offers trading for the NFL, NBA, and MLB with college football coming this fall. Visit www.symbol.app today and use promo code SteelersATB to earn a $10 deposit bonus on your first deposit. That's www.simbull.app. All right, so we're going to jump into our preview of the Green Bay Packers. And so the Packers started their season off rough. They had a really bad game against the Saints. I think they kind of, buried the tape, buried the football, whatever it was, and then came back, beat the Lions pretty easily on Monday night, had a classic with the 49ers. On this past Sunday night, don't leave any time for Aaron Rodgers.
Don't leave any time for Aaron Rodgers.
Exactly. So, and this game is in Lambeau. I think the Packers offensive line is getting healthy. Their defense is getting a little healthier, and they're playing a little better. So this is not good for the Steelers.
It's so tough because like right now our pass coverage, partially because of injuries and also partially because of the front four being injured as well, where we're not getting as much pressure. They're struggling pretty hard right now in a lot of cases. And, obviously the Bengals game, like they didn't really pass much, obviously because they didn't have to, but they had some big plays, obviously to chase and everything. So I'm concerned about, if Watt can't wreck the game, which I obviously we know he's capable of it, but if him and Ingram and hopefully I'm not sure what Highsmith's status is right now. I haven't checked.
I think everybody was limited in practice today on Wednesday. This is Wednesday. So everybody was limited in practice today except for Ben and Juju, who did not practice.
Okay. But if all three of those guys are on the field at times, like then we have a shot at least to give the coverage some chances to actually have a chance to jump some balls and actually have to force the ball out quickly. But it's tough sledding against Rodgers anytime you're playing him in that situation.
Yeah. Because it's tough. I just don't know who's even if they put Hayden and Minka on Devontae Adams, he's getting hard. Open. You can't.
It's hard, and because again, from a coverage standpoint, I don't know who would be best to put on Adams. Like I guess Hayden just because he's experienced, because Sutton, as quick as he is, he's not.
Honestly, I would think Sutton just because I think he's the most. He has the best combination of experience and athleticism, and he has inside-out versatility, which Adams is going to do both. So, I would maybe bracket Adams with Sutton and like roll one of the safeties over whichever side of the field he's on, I guess. But even then, I
Yeah.
still don't know.
I don't know. I mean, like all I know is that they need to at least make Rodgers have to target other guys as often as they can because at least then we have a shot. Like MVS is so hit or miss. Like I know he's probably going to get deep on us at
I mean,
least
he's gonna
once.
if Jamar Chase is torching James Pierre,
Yeah,
MVS is gonna
yeah.
torch James Pierre.
That's the problem. Is like, and I like Pierre as a player, but that situation they put him in, admittedly,
Yeah,
was bad. Like they shouldn't. You
yeah,
shouldn't put a 4-5-5, 4-6, 40 corner on Jamar Chase with
yeah.
no help over the top. But hopefully we don't see any of that. But at least with MVS, like there's a good chance he'll drop it compared to actually catching it. We always have a
Right.
shot there of him messing up for us. So
Yeah, and then I mean the slot guys of like Randall Cobb, Amari Rogers
Rogers,
are
yeah,
are interesting, but
I'm not too worried about
then
that.
of course like I mean there's of course the run game which is so deadly for the Packers, and the Bengals again the Steelers are dealing with injuries. They might have some guys back, but I mean the Bengals were able to run pretty easily on the Steelers,
Yeah, especially that
and I
first
can't
half.
imagine the Packers won't be able to either.
Yeah, with those two, with Dylan and Jones, like I feel like the Packers probably just to play it safe to a certain extent. I assume they're going to probably try to pound the ball on us early to see if they
Hmm.
can do it,
Yeah,
just to attack that defense, get it tired, so that way they don't have to worry as much about the pass rush. Just obviously because they're not as worried about the Steelers scoring on them as they are about making a mistake.
yeah, that's
You don't want to give
exactly.
them points. Don't want to give the defense points for no reason. So
Yeah, for sure. And like I think the only thing that's like possible is like if the Steelers can execute the exact game plan they had against the Bills, then they have a chance.
that's
But
about it. Yeah.
that is predicated on getting consistent pressure with four pass rushers with a completely healthy TJ Watt who isn't that, a completely Alex Highsmith which isn't there, a completely healthy Melvin Ingram isn't there, and Tyson Alwell is gone. So, you know, I
Cam
just
Hayward basically has to baptize Josh
again,
Myers.
yes, he has to do the whole
He
thing
basically
by
has to do
himself.
that,
And
probably.
I
Yeah.
think the
Uh,
Packers offensive line's a little banged up. I think Elgton Jenkins will be back this week, and
he's
he's
something
really good.
else.
He can move
Yeah.
around the line a lot. So yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I think the Packers are gonna pretty much score at will. Unfortunately, it might take a little while, or they'll do it slowly, like you said, through the run. But I don't anticipate the Steelers having much success stopping them.
Yeah. I
On the
still think that they're just going to challenge them with the run game, like I said, and just try to almost basically dare the Steelers to try to score.
Mhm.
Like they're going to put the ball, they're going to put the ball on the ground, try to get some long drives together, get the defense tired, and then hope that the Steelers trot out and go 3-and-out, and then that's when they can find those big plays down the field.
Yeah, I
That's what
mean
they're going to
the
do.
Packers offense is so well constructed and
Yeah.
diverse and everything that's just so hard to stop. On the other side of the ball, Steelers offense not so diverse, not so hard to stop. And Packers defense is still kind of finding themselves their new defensive coordinator, but I mean they have some really good players. Like I'm not sure if Zadarius Smith is going to be healthy in
Yeah,
time
I'm
for
not
this
sure.
game. I think he's still on IR, or
Hmm.
no, I think it's 3 weeks, so he might be back this week. They're starting to find good pressure with Preston Smith and Rashawn Gary, and Kenny Clark is obviously an excellent nose
Yeah, he's
tackle.
great.
So, like we said for a few weeks, if the Steelers could find a way to take advantage of the Packers off-ball linebackers, that'd be fantastic. But I don't see that happening.
So that's the thing that sucks about it is like the way you want to target them is obviously in the middle of the field, right?
Hmm.
And we have shown either no interest or no ability to do so. And I don't expect that to change all of a sudden. Like if Deontay is back and healthy and actually
Hmm.
able to do what he does, I think we'll have a chance to get something going at times. Because you could tell like the offense just doesn't run without him right now the way it's currently constructed, which is shouldn't be the case, but it is, right? Like
So,
that's just kind of where we're
right,
at.
the problem I have with that is that he's probably going to catch Jair Alexander, who's one of the best corners in
Right.
the NFL, who
This
can
is the
play
issue.
inside and out.
I
Yeah,
mean, if the Packers are smart, they just say,
just
"Listen,
just
just
blanket him
stay
or
on
just
him because
follow him wherever he
like
goes. Yeah,
we'll take the chance that Claypool gets open deep and Ben actually hits him. Like we'll take that chance.
yeah.
We'll take the chance that Juju, even with his ribs, is able to play it and get a couple tough catches for first downs. Like we'll be fine with that.
Hmm.
Just don't let Deontay catch 12 passes for 110 yards and get them on long drives. That's all the Packers have to really worry about at this point. And
Hmm.
if we can show them something different, like great. But that's really all they have to game plan for right now to show that they're going to have success against us, probably.
Right, and like I imagine they'd probably put Eric Stokes on Chase Claypool, and that's
Yeah,
probably a
athlete versus athlete.
yeah.
Yeah,
And that I would say that might favor the Steelers just based on experience, but Eric
yeah,
Stokes has been pretty good so far.
hmm
And then Juju and Fryermuth is kind of the middle of the field guys. It would be nice if they could eat there, but I just don't
yeah.
really see them getting a ton of target. And again, this could be another 20 target game for Najee.
Oh,
You
jeez.
know,
I still can't believe. I mean, like I understand that, especially as we got later in that game, like Ben just wanted to get the ball out because it wasn't
Yeah.
going well if he didn't. But I mean, 19 targets. I mean,
Yeah.
Darren Waller got 19 targets in week 1. Like
Right.
that's the kind of guy that gets 19 targets. Like no
Yeah.
offense to Najee, but if we're getting him 19 targets, it's not because he needs 19 targets. It's because the offense isn't doing anything.
Yeah. And again, like if they want to do the stuff where if they want to like go empty on early downs and
Yeah,
like first down, do quick throws to get 5 or 6
yeah, that's
yards,
fine. Yeah,
that's fine. They just haven't really shown the willingness to do that. They always want to do it on like second and long after a 1 yard run that gets eaten up by the offensive line not doing anything.
yeah. It's hard to watch every time because we know it's coming every
Right.
time. Right,
Exactly.
like
And
we
like
know it's coming. It
right.
sucks.
And like I said, I think Kendrick Green had a pretty rough game from all
Yeah, he
reports,
did. Yeah.
and Kenny Clark is not going to make it any easier.
No, he's definitely not the right matchup if we want to try to get anything going, especially
Yeah.
in the run game. But
Yeah, I don't see the run game finding its footing this week at all.
honestly, what I want to see the Steelers do, partially just because I think it would be interesting, and also because why not? Literally go out and run no huddle the entire first quarter. Like, see, just literally just go, like, run a play, go to the line immediately. Don't let them sub out. Don't let them do anything, and just see what happens. Because because they even said like a lot of the stuff that seemed to work in the game, like especially the Bengals game at the end, that we started to get a little bit of something going on the one drive.
Mhm.
It was coming out of no huddle. Like at least then
Yeah.
you have the advantage from the defense isn't going to have time to sit there and match up with everybody and sit there and read what you're doing. Like, give yourself every opportunity you can to have a leg up because you need it right now. Like, you just need any advantage you can get.
Yeah. Part of me wonders if like this might be a game where they might say, "Okay, listen, not a lot's going right. We're gonna get this run game going by hell or high water,
Maybe.
and
I mean,
like we're gonna do it until it works, and then
I mean,
whenever it happens, we don't care. We're just gonna get it going, and that's our objective today."
I wouldn't hate that. I mean, unfortunately, it sucks because like I don't think that, especially because of that matchup in the middle of the field with like
Mhm.
Clark and those guys, like I don't think it's the best week to
No,
do it. But then again, I mean, when
and
is going to be the right
like
time?
that's gonna kill Najee. And I mean, that means Benny Snell have to come on the field, which I don't want, unless they finally decide to give Kalen Balaj some reps,
Yeah, I want to see him at least play a little bit
or if
if they're
Anthony
going to do that.
McFarland gets back from injury, which I don't know if
Yeah,
that's happening.
I'm hoping that we see him soon. I think he
Yeah,
could at least spell him.
I really think he's the key to unlocking this offense.
He would at least be able to add another dimension to it a little bit.
Yeah,
Like,
because I would like to see them use him on the field at the same time as Harris,
yes,
as both a
yes.
receiving option and like use him as the jet sweep guy,
Mhm.
because he has the speed to get to the edge and like actually turn the corner and get upfield. Nobody else really. I mean, Claypool does, but it's more about like he has just his crazy long strides and
Yeah,
he is
he just
fast. But
gets to the end in like 2 steps, and you're like, all right.
exactly, but like he just doesn't have the natural feel as like an open field runner that
No,
McFarland
he's
does.
not as nearly as elusive or able to make quick cuts and
Exactly,
find holes. So
exactly.
I'd love to see. I honestly want to see some sweeps with him where like Najee's out there as the lead blocker. Honestly,
Oh yeah, that'd be
I put
fun.
those two in the backfield because Najee obviously is a load of a dude. Like he can knock some guys out of the way at least as a lead blocker maybe on a jet
Yeah, I
sweep
mean
type of
the
thing.
Packers do this all the time with Aaron Jones and AJ
Yeah,
Dillon. Like they move Jones around a lot. Like they'll have him at receiver, like motion him in sweeps, and then just leave Dillon in the backfield and kind of use Jones as eye candy to distract from the big bag, which I think
right.
you need to establish Anthony McFarland as a threat. But once he gets healthy and you can do that, then it's like okay, like we have to keep an eye on both these guys because like if they want to motion McFarland out and kind of hit him with a swing pass behind a trip set, and he can get upfield quickly, like that's a good play. And then you run that a few times, it works. Then you fake that, give the handoff to Najee. The box is weak, and he can bust out for 10 or 15 yards.
Yeah, I'd really like to see them try to use that 2-back system a little bit when he does get healthy. Like, I'd even like to see it now just to give it as a look with Balaj or something. Because,
Yeah.
like, obviously not with Snell, because Snell doesn't bring any value anywhere.
Right.
But
Yeah.
backfield. But like Balaj, even though he's been
use
inefficient,
Juju. I don't care. Put him in the
yeah,
backfield.
honestly, I mean, put some like even Ray is like a gadget type of guy. You
Yeah.
do something with him, like it's just something. Like I just want to see them right now. Like if this offense was fully healthy, the offensive line was at least average, and Ben wasn't 90 years old. I think that even though I don't love everything that Canada's done, I think we'd have a functional offense.
Yeah.
But we don't. So at this point, you got to just start trying something else. Just it's the same problem we had last year. Like, don't keep running into a wall just because. Like,
Yeah,
you don't
for
want to
sure.
do that.
All
So
right, so we'll get to predictions now. So the line opened at Packers -6. It's moved to -7. The over/under is at 45.5, which well, actually, let me check that over/under. Actually, it's 46 now, so everything's gone up by a little bit.
mhm,
So that puts us at about Packers 27, Steelers 20-ish, something like that, or 26-19, something
mhm.
like that. So I have it as Packers 31, Steelers 13. I don't have the Steelers covering that spread, or I guess beating that spread or whatever it is. I I don't think they keep this particularly close. I think they might get one score on, maybe the defense gets a turnover, they get a short field and capitalize on that. They get a few field goals, and it's more of the same.
Yeah, I feel like I the only thing I'm really questioning is like I think I know how much the Steelers are going to score in this game. I just don't know how much the Packers are going to score.
Mm,
I feel like honestly, I wouldn't be that surprised just because I think that the Packers might take that route that I talked about with trying to establish the run and just try to wear down the defense and not let the
hmm
offense get anything going either. Then try to get some quick 3-and-outs on defense and go back out there with a tired defense. I think it's going to be somewhere in the 28-10 range. Honestly,
hmm
that's my guess. I don't think the Steelers are going to score more than one touchdown in this game at this rate,
Yeah.
and maybe they can get a quick touchdown or something like that, and then they struggle the rest of the way probably. But I think I'm going to go 28-10 on this one.
Okay. Well, the good news is that we are 0 for 3 so far on
This
our
is true.
predictions.
That is good, honestly.
So, by that logic, the Steelers should win this game. Uh,
Yes, yeah. If we could just keep honestly, I will predict a loss every time if I have to.
mhm.
Even though it'll make me sad to think about it. If it means that the chance they win is higher, it's fine.
Yeah,
I'll be wrong.
absolutely.
I'd rather be wrong and happy than right and sad. So
Put that on a t-shirt. All right.
yeah, I might
That'll do
have
it for
to.
that'll do it for us this week.
Mm.
Shane, let the people know where they can find your work.
You can find me at Shane Kubis on Twitter. Obviously, with any of the Round the Block stuff, we're doing a lot of stuff. We're doing a new show for Tuesdays and Fridays, NFL live shows. Definitely check those out. And also, all my stuff writing right now, for the most part, is on the Still Curtain fan sided Pittsburgh site.
Awesome. So I'm at Mitchell T. Wolf, WOLFE. Been a little busy recently. Haven't been able to get as much writing done just because of my day job stuff, which actually pays me. Hashtag
Right.
capitalism.
Right.
But,
Capitalism.
we're getting into a bit of a weird point in the Steelers season where, maybe we can have some fun with some of the content we're creating. But
Yeah.
we thank you all for tuning in, listening to us this week. We hope you come back next week. And, we look forward to having you back at Around the Burgh.